All right, so let me start to give you a little bit of a history lesson here for those of you that are familiar with the Westchester club scene back in the 80s, right? So I told you how I got started. I started out at a club originally as a DJ. It was called Habitat. Now I started hanging out there. I knew the DJ, the main DJ there, the Saturday night guy. I don't know if he was the Friday night guy too. This guy John Pfeiffer, and then this guy John Ramaglia. He was the Thursday night DJ. Now these guys were a couple of years older than me. Ramaglia was like 5 or 6 years older than me. And when I was in high school, I used to run home and practice mixing. This was back in the day before everything was digitized. You actually had crates of records, and we used to bring in, maybe 1,000 12-inch singles. In, you're talking maybe 8 crates of records, 8 to 10 crates of records. And we used to use the 1800s back then. There was also another one called the 3500s, who also had a very strong pull on them. That was the whole thing with DJing back then. You had to have a strong pull. Anyway, back to Habitat. Habitat was originally Lollipop, not Lolly, Lally, L-A-L-L-I. And that guy, his owner's last name was Lally. And he sold it to these 2 Portuguese guys in the early 80s, well, maybe around 83, 82, 83. And he sold it to these 2 Portuguese guys, John, and I forget the other guy's name. So when they first bought it, they didn't really know what they were doing with the nightclub scene. But when they first bought it, they still had a lot of the crowd. The residual crowd was still there from Lollipop, right? But this was around the time now when that guy Lally, he left there, and I don't know if his name was Marty or his name was Lenny, but he was one of the partners in Marty and Lenny's. Unfortunately, he's passed away now. But he was a partner in Marty and Lenny's up on North Avenue in New Rochelle. And then in the mall over there, Peachtree's was pumping, and it changed over to Take 5. So now you had these 2 pretty significant clubs up there, and the crowd from Lollipop, which was now Habitat, started migrating up to Marty and Lenny's. So the crowd at Habitat, which was the Lollipop crowd, slowly kept dwindling down and dwindling down and dwindling down. So in the next part, in part 2, I'll continue with how I actually went from kind of like a wannabe over there into getting my foot in the door as the DJ at Lollipop, at Habitat, and how that died down and I moved on. I'll talk to you, friends.